Hi, Ghosties. I'm Macy.
And I'm Natalie.
And suggested by many, and when I say many, I mean many, dozens of people commented or messaged us about this topic. Today, we're talking about yet another location on my long list of places that I have to go to, the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
I've never heard of it. I'm very interested. I don't have anything to add, like, ooh, I saw it on. No clue.
Nothing? Well, it's a massive and gorgeous structure built like a few places we've talked about before, for the sole purpose of providing a luxurious place for the well-to-do people to stay while they take in the healing and restorative properties of the local spring.
Oh, interesting, like mineral wells.
Yes. It has a bit of a sordid history and is teeming with ghosts. It is called the most haunted hotel in America, and year after year, it makes its way on to a multitude of lists proclaiming it so. I surprisingly had never, ever heard of it, actually, before now, and I'm glad that I have. I'm glad that you suggested it. I'm glad we're talking about it, because by the end, just know that you will also be adding it to your list of places you want to go.
Okay, well, let's get after it.
Our tea today is Harney & Sons White Christmas. It smells questionable.
Yeah, I picked this one just based off of the name, and it had like hints of vanilla and almond. I was like, oh, that's going to be good.
But it's also a white tea, which we're more black tea girlies. Yeah.
I don't know. The smell is interesting, so let's go. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No, it's really light. It's refreshing. It's not too bad. Super hot. It's steaming, so it hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's light. The smell is so overwhelming that I thought it was going to be like, and just like fill my mouth and all my senses. It was just going to be like, but yeah. It's really not bad.
The smell is a lot.
Yeah,
But
that's
the
a lot,
flavor's not
Robin.
bad.
Also, as I've been, kind of convinced of ghostly things, I think I've started to like more teas.
Interesting. So there's like a correlation between your skepticism and your taste buds?
No, but I think I'm just changing. I think I'm just evolving.
Okay.
But I don't know. Because normally,
for the better to me.
Yeah, because normally I think I'd be like, hate it. I don't mind it.
The Crescent Hotel and Spa is a sprawling and gorgeously built hotel at 75 Prospect Avenue in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. It's a hot destination for weddings and events, has a full spa and salon, along with many amenities and planned activities and events to make your stay comfortable and exciting. The website was really selling me.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, oh, they have this?
And ghosts.
And ghosts. It's a member of the Historic Hotels of America and has been in operation on and off since the year 1886.
I knew it was going to be the 1800s.
One of the many things to be offered during your stay in this truly beautiful building. Like it is, like I can't get over it. It's so pretty. Are ghost tours for all ages. They even have kids' ghost tours.
What?
Yeah. It is one of the most haunted hotels in America, and it seems from the countless stories you can find online, including an entire Facebook group dedicated to experiences and evidence captured of the paranormal activity that occurs in the hotel, that you are almost guaranteed to spot something during your long weekend stay. If you stay more than one night, you got to give it some time. Give the ghosts some time to warm up to you.
Wow. I do want to experience ghostly things. I just don't know about sleeping somewhere haunted. I don't want anything to invade my dreams. That just really, really scares me.
That's understandable.
Like I'll stay there all night as long as I'm not sleeping. As soon as I get tired,
you just don't
put
want to
me
be
in the car.
In the vulnerable state of sleep.
Yes.
And dream.
Yes.
Located in the Ozark Mountains, the Crescent Hotel towers above Eureka Springs, Arkansas, atop a hill overlooking the town and the surrounding forests. In the year 1879, almost overnight, people began flocking to the area when a long-forgotten healing spring was rediscovered by Americans. It, of course, was known to the natives of the area long before settlers moved onto the land and forced them to relocate. The natural springs with healing properties surrounded by lush forests and rugged cliffs was a sight to behold and was visited by many looking to aid or cure them. People from all over the U.S. heard of the magical healing properties of the natural spring in northern Arkansas. Suddenly, people began to flock to the area. It was essentially desolate in 1879, and by 1880, over 15,000 people were residing in and around Eureka Springs.
Wow.
So within a year.
That's insane.
Governor Powell Clayton saw real potential in this booming town, and that's when the inception of the Crescent Hotel really began. He envisioned Eureka Springs as an upscale resort town that those with an abundance of funds could travel to and visit in the more mild months of the year. So he, along with the Eureka Springs Improvement Company, sought out means to enact their vision for the town. It began with the arrival of the Frisco Railroad passing through Eureka Springs. This way, trade would bring business and an easier way for people to travel to and from the area.
Everything always goes back to the railroad and trains here.
In America, for sure, yeah.
I noticed that, like, every historical thing we talk about, it's like, because the trains were...
Yeah,
because the train came by, we have more things to do. It's like, oh, okay.
With an established railroad came the Grand Retreat, a building that would encompass the grandeur thought to embody the future of the town. In 1884, building commenced on what would become the Crescent Hotel, and 2 years later, in 1886, the hotel was completed on top of Crescent Mountain. 18-inch thick stones carved from limestone from the quarry on the White River near Beaver make up the building's exterior.
Of course, it's limestone.
Yes.
Wow.
Limestone on top of healing springs.
Yes.
Water.
Okay. So I already believe you that it's haunted.
Yes.
You don't have to tell me anything else.
That's the end. We'll see you next week. It had electricity, elevators, and a close proximity to the main reason everyone desired to be there, the natural springs. So it was like really, really extravagant, and like all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
Like for this big of a hotel to have electricity was very new.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah. It cost $249,000 to build, and that's over $8 million today. And it finally opened its doors to the public on May 1st, 1886. It was considered to be the most luxurious establishment west of the Mississippi and the premier destination for the elite, with its opulent ballrooms and exceptional services. It operated for 15 years with little issue, but eventually fell on hard times. Financially, it began to have trouble keeping up with the luxury it provided and the cost that it took to keep the building running and in great shape. By the 1900s, it opened as a hotel only during the summer months to allow the building to be used in other ways and make the money needed to keep it afloat during off-season. In 1902, the building was leased to the Frisco Railroad for 5 years and used for some of the business operations for the railroad. In 1908, the building opened as an elite girls' boarding school called Crescent College for Young Women. The school ran from September to June until it was used in the summer months as the hotel once again. The college did quite well, boasting a comprehensive curriculum and an exceptional education for young women. It attracted students from all over the country due to its reputation, but it eventually closed in 1924 due to lack of funding. The economy was tough for many all over the country at this point, and less people were using the money to travel and for luxuries like those offered by the Crescent Hotel.
Yeah.
It was bought by former mayor and congressman Claude Fuller and Eureka Springs mayor Albert Ingalls in 1925, but changed hands again in 1929 for the same reason. So people were just buying it up, trying to save it.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of one of the main events of the town. I mean, it's a beautiful piece of history.
And it's a huge building to just let
Go.
rot.
Yeah.
Like, that's unimaginable. So
Agreed.
I support the exchanging of hands as long as it's staying afloat.
You might change your mind.
Oh, really?
We'll see.
Okay.
It was reopened as a junior college for a brief period from 1930 to 1934, then closed down indefinitely. Like, as a college, I mean.
Oh, I was like, what? That was like the Alive and Well website with like the graphics and everything you just showed me doesn't
It's
really
all a
add up.
mirage. It doesn't
Okay.
actually exist. Enter one unfortunate source for many of the hauntings within the hotel today, Norman Baker and the Baker Cancer Clinic.
Oh, no.
So this is where you might change your mind as to, I don't care if it's changing hands.
You can never trust a man named Norman. Sorry to all the Normans out there. Sorry.
When I heard Norman Baker, the first thing that I heard in my mind was Norman Bates.
Same. That's exactly why I said
It was
that.
like, he's got to be a bad guy.
As soon as you said bait, I was like,
Baker was a millionaire who had amassed a loyal following for his fringe healthcare beliefs through his radio broadcast on KNTN or Know the Naked Truth, and his publication, the Midwest Free Press, allowed to him through his political connections after supporting President Herbert Hoover's campaign, though he had no medical degree or experience at all.
what?
He often attacked organized medicine, which he believed to be corrupt and profit-driven. Ironic considering the profits he made off of his cures for diseases and illnesses later on.
I take it back.
A quote from the Quad City Times in 1955 discussing Norman Baker and his move to Eureka Springs describes the situation as such. Quote, with a flock of disciples to help him, the word of Baker was spread to America from headquarters at Muscatine, Iowa. There, Baker operated stores, had hospitals, made calliopes, I don't know what that is at all, printed a newspaper and magazine, and ran one of the nation's most powerful radio stations. Each operation was integrated into the other, but all had as their focal point the Baker Cancer Cure. All publicity, all radio broadcasts were beamed in benefit of Norman Baker's miracle hospitals, where cancer, and about everything else, could be cured. Baker believed he knew how to cure cancer, and was set on spreading his cure to all who could afford to make their way to his facilities. He never claimed to be a doctor, but this didn't stop him from espousing his unfounded claims and opening up his own hospitals to help treat those desperate people looking for a way to cure their cancer.
This guy sucks so bad.
Agreed. It just gets worse, too.
Oh, no.
It gets worse. He wasn't well liked by the American Medical Association, and he actually eventually lost his radio station to the Federal Radio Commission in 1931, though he just moved the station to Mexico and started up again. He set his sights on Eureka Springs for his home base of his cure-all for cancers of any kind, and he eventually got his wish. So in 1937, After actually spending one day in jail and paying a fine of $1,000 to his home state of Iowa for practicing medicine without a license, the so-called charlatan relocated to Arkansas and opened up the Baker Cancer Clinic, where he could use his cure to treat cancer and several other diseases and ailments for people from all across the country. His promotionals called it the, quote, largest and most exclusive health and pleasure resort in the U.S. He remodeled the hotel, painting it en masse his favorite color purple to match his car and suit. So he was a big into purple, and painted like almost the entire hotel, just different shades of purple.
He is a villain.
He's weird.
You've heard about purple people, right?
No.
How if your favorite color is purple, everything is purple. So this checks out.
You're wearing purple. Our background is purple.
In my defense, purple is not my favorite color, and I did not know about this previously. I hate that I wore this shirt. We were just outside, and I was like, I'm going to wear this sweater. Just kidding. I just want to wear my t-shirt. It's hot. I need to go change.
It was decorated in wild fashion, looking more like a carnival than a health retreat, as Baker wanted the place to look cheerful for his patients. Or so he said. He would advertise his retreat with his outlandish claims of being able to cure cancer without surgeries or medicines that would be hard on your body. So he's like, this is a non-surgical approach.
Yeah, because you're not a doctor. You don't know how to do surgery.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
He offered accommodations there for those wealthy enough to afford the travel and boarding, mailing out flyers all across the nation claiming that the retreat was, quote, where sick folks get well. Patients began arriving and his treatments commenced. It's not entirely clear as to how he was treating his patients, though what is known is absolutely ludicrous. Just
Like what?
Well, the spring water, of course, played a major part in the healing process. They drank a lot of spring water, saying that will cure most of what you have.
Mm-hmm.
But there was another more dubious treatment that is believed to have been subjected on those arriving in Arkansas. It is believed that he would have his clients, first of all, write undated letters and sign them to their families, making claims that they were doing well and healing and like things were great. His cure is said to have involved an injectable, quote, formula number 5. Is what he called it, which was made up of ingredients like ground up watermelon seeds, corn silk, clover, water, glycerin, peppermint, and carbolic acid. He would inject the patient with this concoction in the site where their cancerous tumors were up to 7 or 8 times a day. So if you had a brain tumor, he was injecting it into your brain. If it was in your lungs, he was doing it around your lungs, wherever your tumors were.
So he's just killing them.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What's so sick about this is it costs a lot of money, and it's like the people that can afford it can come do it. There were probably people that couldn't afford it, but scrounged around and tried to get it because this was their last ditch effort, their last hope.
They were just desperate, yeah.
He's sick.
His cure didn't work, of course, and one can only imagine the pain and suffering brought on these poor people. It's unknown how many patients Baker had brought in exactly, and even less known how many of them made it out alive. It's speculated that he had blocked off a section of the hotel that essentially served as a hospice, or some sources called it a psychiatric ward.
Mm-hmm.
It was separated from the rest of the patients and prying eyes of visitors so that no one could hear the groans of defiance, pain, and dying in a place that Baker had touted as being a medical paradise. So all those who were just kind of going downhill, who were in a lot of pain, were just like shipped off and locked away.
This is horrible.
Out of sight, so that he could show people around, like, see, look, these people are doing great.
That's really terrible.
It's safe to say that not a soul was ever cured of cancer by Norman Baker. In fact, it's claimed that he would often wheel his dead patients down to the morgue at night so that nobody would be able to like be out and about to see him, sending off those signed letters to their families stating that they were doing well and feeling better. Some sources said that he would send those letters off like either right before they died or after they died, just so it could still be living there and getting better.
So he wouldn't lose his reputation for being able to cure them. Tell me about ghosts. I don't want to hear about this guy anymore.
We're getting there. Down in the basement is where he kept the autopsy table, which still remains on the premises to this day, and the freezer for the bodies. Eventually, he would let the family know that their loved one had passed and that he would require money to make arrangements for their body. So he was still taking money from these people. So regardless of his motives, so even if devil's advocate, you could say that he really believed he was doing good, he was still taking all kinds of money from these people and their families.
He didn't think he was doing good because nobody was helped. They all died.
Yeah. So but I mean, like, even if he was just insane and thought he was helping, even if he was delusional enough to think he truly was helping,
it sounds like it.
He was still taking money.
Yeah.
The people of Arkansas were catching on to his grift and began making a little bit of noise about these false claims. In May of 1938, U.S. Representative from Arkansas, Claude Fuller, urged for an investigation into Baker and his claims. Quote, If he has a fake remedy and is perpetuating a fraud upon the suffering American public, I would like it for it to be known, and the American people are entitled to this knowledge. If he has a cure and is performing great work, the public should be so informed. So he's like, hey, if it's not working, he's just a scumbag, we all need to know. And even if it is working, we still need to know.
Prove it.
So someone needs to go in and check this out.
Yeah.
Though the law never caught up to him for his atrocious medical practices in Arkansas, he did eventually go to jail. He was arrested in 1940 for mail fraud, of all things, due to the unethical ways he was procuring his patients. And I think he was sending out cures through the mail too.
Wow.
He was sentenced to 4 years in prison and fined $4,000. And it was estimated that he was making close to $500,000 a year with his cancer clinic scheme.
In the 40s or 30s.
Yeah, in the late 30s.
That is so much money.
And he was already filthy rich. After he was released, he attempted to start back up again, but eventually retired to Florida, where he died in 1958 to, I think it was cirrhosis of the liver. The Crescent Hotel was once again left ownerless until 1946, when it was purchased by John R. Constantine, Herbert Byfield, Herbert Shutter, and Dwight Nichols. So the four made an attempt to revive the hotel to its glory days in the late 1800s. After extensive renovations and a removal of all the lavender hues, it was opened once again as a luxury hotel for the public. They established vacation packages for travelers in collaboration with the Frisco Railroad and brought in a wave of tourists to Eureka Springs once again. The hotel did fairly well until it nearly burned to the ground in 1967, destroying a large portion of the fourth floor and the entire penthouse.
Wow. How? Arson? Electrical? Do we know?
I don't know.
Ghostly?
It wasn't ghostly, but no, I don't know. I guess if I don't know, then I don't know if it's ghostly or not. But I assume it had an actual reason.
Yeah.
Attempts were made to rebuild and revive the hotel by several owners over the years, and it's in the 80s when claims of the paranormal began. The hotel operated fairly well, but it slowly fell into disarray and wasn't nearly as successful or glorious as it had been the time it was built. In 1996, Martin and Elise Ronick, a wealthy couple from East Hampton, Connecticut, decided that the restoration of the Crescent Hotel would become their next passion project. They were moving from Connecticut to somewhere nearby in Arkansas, and they found the Crescent Hotel. It was in bad shape, but they saw the potential.
That's a really cool job, or just like a passion to have.
And like if I had a lot of money, I think I would put my money to use like this.
100%.
They're really big into like restoration and preserving history, and they've donated a lot of money to like the arts and
that's
like
awesome.
little societies around Eureka Springs in Arkansas.
I love that.
They admired the historic significance that the building played in the history of the town and purchased the hotel for $1.3 million in 1997 with the sole intention of renovating and preserving the Grand Hotel. Then in 2002, after spending $5 million in renovations, the hotel was ready to reclaim its place as the luxury hotel it was intended to be. Sadly, in 2009, Martin tragically passed in a car accident, but Elise has continued on in their plans to restore and build up the hotel and the 15-acre grounds it encompasses. She still owns the hotel today.
Oh, awesome.
Aside from being a hot destination for vacations and big events, the hotel has gained fame for another reason. The main reason we are here today. It's wildly haunted. In fact, after the hotel was purchased by the Ronicks, they hired 2 mediums to do a walkthrough of the premises to tell them about all the supernatural connections that the limestone structure holds. They both, separately, claimed that the building contained a portal.
Oh, wow.
The hotel has been visited by countless paranormal enthusiasts and has been the subject of many television shows documenting its hauntings for massive audiences, including ghost hunters.
Ghost hunters has been everywhere.
Paranormal investigators flock to the hotel now, as the elite did in the 19th century. But rather than looking for a relaxing retreat, they're searching for the thrilling evidence of the paranormal. Hundreds of people attend their ghost tours each week, and 2 weekends a year are dedicated to paranormal investigation of the hotel, its grounds, and surrounding areas in Eureka Springs. They're the last 2 weekends in January, and they're headed by some of the top paranormal investigators in the nation. So it started off as one. I don't remember the first year that they did it, but they were like, everyone is coming here for this.
Yeah.
So let's make a weekend out of it. And so many people came and signed up that they're like, okay, this is too much. We got to do 2 weekends. So many people come.
Can the general public?
Oh yeah, general public, everyone. You can buy tickets.
This is interesting. How far away is Arkansas from us?
Oh, I looked it up. It was like a 10-hour drive or something.
That's not bad. I like a road trip.
Me too. So from novice to expert, you can also buy tickets to the events and stay at the hotel to enjoy the festivities. Tales of sightings of full-body apparitions, photos of ghostly figures, and videos of the strange activity have been captured and shared countless times over the years, during this weekend and beyond. I'll link the Facebook page that is just totally dedicated to the hauntings of this hotel. And people will post photos like, I got this little ghost, there's an orb, or their little experiences. So the most strange and possibly chilling experiences had by people exploring the hotel tend to happen in one particular spot on the 3rd floor of the hotel. Dozens of people have grown faint, some even passing out as they pass by this location in the building. It's believed that those on the same frequency of the land are affected the most when they come upon this spot. Don't ask me what that means.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you're like, we are all on different frequencies, and sometimes, I don't know if you've ever been to a location where you just feel like you resonate with that spot. Okay, so don't quote me on this because I have no clue what I'm talking about. I'm just saying what I've heard on other programs
Instagram
and podcasts
reels.
And reels and stuff. But I've heard people talk about how everyone has their own frequency, and I don't know how it works.
Okay.
I don't know what exactly it means or where it comes from, if it comes from the soul or the spirit or whatever.
Okay.
But sometimes you just like vibe with a land, and like you're at the same frequency as a land. And I don't know if this has anything to do with like astrocartography or anything like that. The people who are at the same frequency as Eureka Springs, the Crescent Hotel, the Crescent Mountain and stuff will come upon this spot in the 3rd floor of the hotel and become faint. They'll get pale and dizzy, and sometimes they'll just like fall against the wall and like slide down and faint. And then they'll come to immediately, like nothing's wrong. But it just like overcomes them.
That is interesting.
Very strange.
I would like to know more about whatever it is we just talked about.
Yeah, if anyone knows what the heck I'm saying, please help.
I don't know much, but what I was saying is like I'm receptive to things like that, I think. Like
yes.
I read energies. No,
Yes.
I feel energies.
Your aura is very sunsetty.
It's like a sunset.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
But yeah, I don't know. So I was like, ooh, I might feel it, but I don't know all of what we just talked about.
Me neither.
I would like to know though.
Me too.
Leaves of we sound really stupid. Okay.
Moving on, okay.
You know that video of Ariana Grande? She's like, I'd like to see what you just said written on paper.
Yes. I don't want to. I would be so embarrassed to read it back.
Anyways.
So the hotel's general manager, Jack Moyer, recounted in an interview about the strange occurrences. This is all quoted from him. I clearly remember Carol Heath stating that he had discovered a portal to the other side for those who are on the same frequency. He was a skeptic at the time and laughed it off. He said, I remember asking myself, what were we thinking trying to explore this unexplained world? But after more than a decade of working around the paranormal, I now assuredly recognize how many people truly connect to the spirits here at the Crescent, and there is a new and specific reason why. So the ghost tour manager at the time, Keith Scales, came to me to share a concern about a phenomenon that had been reoccurring on his nightly tours. That phenomenon included multiple guests who had grown faint, with a few passing out briefly, at the same tour spot with no reasonable explanation. Then Scales described the location, and it was the area that had been identified as a portal more than a decade ago by Heath. So the medium.
Oh, okay.
So he went on to say, what made that moment most chilling was when Keith and I realized that this portal was directly above the morgue, located at the bottom level of the hotel.
Oh no.
Years before, not before the morgue happened, but like after the morgue, 2 mediums came in and said, there is a portal here, pinpointed this area.
And that's where all the people
just happened to be right above the morgue. And that's where all the people are fainting, where it's just so strong and they become overcome with whatever it is.
I don't know what to make of that.
I want to go just to see if my frequency is on that level.
Same. I just want to
walk up like, am I going to pass out?
Imagine. I feel like the placebo effect would be so hard for me.
I was going to say, not placebo,
if I knew.
but also agree, but that you would. Like, I don't know. I just have a feeling
you
that
think
you would.
I would?
Yeah.
Just like naturally?
Yeah.
Let's test it.
Maybe placebo too. I don't know.
Let's test it. Don't tell me where we're at.
Okay.
And I'll walk around and see if I get faint.
Okay. We'll go on the ghost tours.
Dude, I really want to. I'm not kidding.
Me too. So many of the spirits seen throughout the hotel seem to originate during Baker's occupation, including Baker himself. He has been seen in the hotel lobby where the old rec room was, dressed in his typical purple shirt and white linen suit. He is said to look lost, and some believe that he may be being punished for all the harm that he caused with his false claims, so that he's like stuck in the hotel and doesn't know where he's at, and people just see him all the time looking lost standing there in the lobby. He did horrible things, but that's still sad for any soul to be stuck, you know? Even if they're a horrible soul. Although he was pretty awful.
I mean, I'm just feeling a little aggressive today, so.
You're always a little aggressive, that's okay.
Yeah.
You remind me of like, you know that guy who pets his little chihuahua and he's
I
like,
love you, dog! That one?
I don't know if it's the same guy. It might be. It might be, but he's like, nothing more relaxing than coming home and petting your animal, and then the dog's just like the whole time.
Yeah.
Is that the same guy?
I don't know.
I don't know, but either way, you remind me of the chihuahua.
Oh, good. And you know what's funny? I was gonna say I have Chihuahua energy, and that's why I've always wanted one.
If you were a dog, you would be a Chihuahua.
I would. What would you be?
Maybe
I think you're a golden retriever.
I was gonna say either a golden retriever or
one of those little doodle things.
Oh, okay.
You know, they're just always
I was
like.
gonna say husky, just because
No.
they're like, I don't know, but
No.
I guess I'm not cool enough to be a
No.
husky. Golden retriever's fine.
Yeah. Leave a comment.
What kind of dog are you?
No, what kind of dog are we?
Oh, what kind of dog are we? Okay. And you. Another spirit spotted is what looks to be a woman dressed in an old nurse's uniform as she pushes a gurney down the hallway. Some people even claim to hear the squeaking of the gurney wheels as it makes its way down the hall in the middle of the night.
That's chilling.
Hotel maintenance staff have witnessed washers and dryers turning on in the middle of the night with no known cause. They're located next to the old morgue and walk-in freezer where the bodies were stored. The hotel made headlines again in 2019 when landscaping crews found hundreds of specimen jars containing what seemed to be formulas and oddities dating back to the days that Norman Baker had ownership of the building. Archaeologists were called in from the local university to remove the bottles and investigate. So they didn't want to break them, so they called an archaeologist to dig up hundreds of bottles. Some of them had the like watermelon seed mixture concoction. Some of them had unidentified things, and some of them had what looked to be maybe tumors or some kind of
that they removed from people like after.
I'm assuming. I'm not sure. I have no clue.
Okay.
No one really knows.
I mean, they didn't test it?
They tested some of them.
Okay.
But I don't know if they opened all of them.
Or told us about all of them.
Or told us, yeah.
Oh my God.
Some of the bottles are now on display in the morgue. So you can stop by the old morgue on ghost tours and stuff, and they have the old autopsy table that used to be for, like just for storage. Like they kept the autopsy table and they would just like store like cleaning supplies, and there was a coffee maker on it at one point. I don't know if they knew what it was. And then when they came in and started the ghost tours and everything, they're like, we're not gonna put coffee on this anymore. And now they have it stored in there, just kind of like a little museum almost. And they've got some of the specimen jars in there.
The jars being in there and knowing that he touched those before, that's really insane to me.
There seemed to be an uptick in activity after all of this was disturbed, and a dark figure has been spotted in the morgue area by several people. Strange activity like touching or a breath on the back of tourists' necks can be felt at night, as well as cold spots throughout the room. I can imagine it's probably overwhelming in there.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I'd want to go in there.
Well, it's a stop along the tour.
I know.
Another well-known spirit spotted often in the hotel is named Theodora. She is believed to have been a patient of Norman Baker's in the 30s. She has been seen by staff and customers alike, often fumbling with keys outside of room 419, where she claims to be staying. People have approached her thinking she's a guest, asking her if she needs help because she's just kind of like fumbling with her keys.
Yeah.
And she'll tell them no, so they'll turn around and walk away, but when they look back, she's gone.
This makes me think, what if I have seen an apparition?
Yeah, and you just don't know because they look like a regular person.
Oh, no.
I know.
Oh, no.
This mixed with the glitch in the Matrix, like nothing's real.
No.
So Theodora also likes to tidy up guest rooms. She is often said to fold their clothing, organize their closets, and arrange personal items that have been scattered about. One couple even claimed to have scattered a fistful of change on the table upon arrival just to see if they could like get an interaction with her. They left the room with a do not disturb sign on, came back, and all of their change was neatly stacked by coin type on their dresser.
I would have put a camera there. I had to see it. I would
Watch it all happen.
I would never feel like,
well, maybe she doesn't want to, perform for a camera.
Maybe she wouldn't know. I don't know.
Some even claim that she'll pack up the clothes and belongings of guests that she doesn't like. So she's like, here you go. You need to leave.
I would be so embarrassed. I would leave.
It's like, you're right. Okay.
I would
See you
be
later.
so embarrassed. And I'd be like, I'm so sorry. I'll go. I will go.
Same. I think so too. Mediums who have claimed to come into contact with Theodora say that she serves a very specific purpose at the hotel. She is there, so they say, to help other spirits move on after sometimes traumatic life events that they've endured. So once they become a ghost in the hotel, she's there to guide them to the light, basically.
Okay.
The hotel definitely plays up their favorite spirits, even naming a cocktail Theodora's Surprise in her honor.
I love that, actually.
I love things like that. Little things like
little
that.
tributes.
Yeah. So one staffer, Steve Garrison, claimed to have seen the full body apparition of a young boy in the kitchen while at work one morning. He swears he doesn't drink on the job or at all because he's like, I wasn't drunk here. But while slicing up vegetables early one morning alone in the kitchen, he looked up to see a young boy with, quote, pop bottle glasses, dressed in old-fashioned clothes, skipping around the kitchen. The lights will also flicker often in the kitchen for no reason, and some days he'll walk in and all of the pots and pans will be as if they've been thrown across the kitchen on the floor.
That's really scary. I don't like that they can move heavy things.
Yeah, me neither.
The coins are okay, but not pots and pans.
Like, there's a lot of energy that needs to be used to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There are several ghost children seen on the premises. The 4-year-old son of Richard and Mary Breckenridge Thompson, called Brecky, is believed to have passed away in the building while his father was working at the girls' college. So he was like a dean or some high up in the college. And his son was 4 years old when he passed, and they believe he passed away here while in the building.
Yeah.
He's been seen in the hallways, and many people have claimed to hear the sounds of a bouncing ball outside their rooms, though nothing and nobody is there. Kids have even claimed to play with the young boy from time to time, telling their parents, quote, "He lives here. He's got curly blonde hair. He was wearing weird clothes, and he plays ball with me." There are other claims of a young girl who supposedly fell from the top of the staircase down to the first floor that is seen playing along the staircase and up on the 4th floor, where it's believed that she had been playing before her untimely death. So the story goes that the 4th floor was where the nurses hung out and did their thing when it was Baker's hospital. The little girl, some say she was as young as 3, some say she was 6, was playing and left unattended by herself and fell over the banister. And now she's seen playing around that banister area.
Oh, man.
Very, very sad. Though that's unsubstantiated. A lot of these deaths are not for sure.
Yeah, it's just what people... I mean...
It's just a part of the lore, the part of the story.
We see that a lot, where if there's no explanation, they'll come up with one.
Or are told something, or... Yeah. Legend passed down. Another spirit experienced often is believed to have been one of the stonemasons who worked on the hotel as it was being built back in 1885. So the oldest known ghost. Michael, as they call him, was a 17 or 18-year-old Irishman. He's said to have been working on the top floor when he fell to his death down upon a beam on the 2nd floor, right where room 218 is today. Guests who stay in that room, particularly women, experience an array of happenings here. So the story is that he was a ladies' man, and he saw a woman walking down and was like trying to get her attention and tripped and fell over to his death. He's been known to flip lights on and off, knock on the headboards while guests lie in bed, as well as shake them awake at night. He will tie the curtains and towels in the room into knots and even unlock and open the balcony doors. Like they'll unlock and swing open.
I wouldn't feel safe.
People have claimed to see hands coming out of the bathroom mirror in room 218. And I read one source that some women have claimed to be woken up in the middle of the night to what seems to be a man climbing over top of their bodies while they sleep, only to jump up, turn the lights on, and find nobody in the room.
No.
I do not like this one.
I can't. I don't even know what to say.
So terrifying.
So traumatizing. So scary.
It'd
be
be hard
sick
for me to sleep again.
Same.
Ever, anywhere. A spirit referred to as the Girl in the Mist has supposedly been spotted a number of times by both guests and staff. Though unsubstantiated, like most of these, there are claims that when the building was used as an all-girls college, one young woman had fallen over the side of the balcony and lost her life as she hit the ground outside. It was later found after her death that she was in fact pregnant. Now, this was scandalous because it is known that the girls were well chaperoned and didn't have unsupervised contact with any men. There wasn't a boys' school anywhere super close, and so no one knows who the father would be.
Oh my God. Did she fall?
There is speculation that she could have been pushed because of her state.
Yeah.
Though we'll never know. So
I hope not.
Also, even we don't know for sure if the story is even true.
I hope it's not. I hope it's just made up.
What is known, however, is that sometime around 10:30 p.m., the time that she supposedly passed away, people have claimed to see a large mist that contains the shape of a person falling down the top balcony, and some even claim to see a shadow of a person like turn and walk away from the spot that she had fallen.
I don't like that at all.
So as if they're both still there.
Stuck in a loop, basically.
Yeah.
I don't like that she would still be stuck. That's really sad.
Yeah. Well, the rest of the stories aren't so sad.
Okay, thank you.
I left the sad in the middle here.
Thank you.
The Crystal Dining Room has been the site where many spirits have been seen and encountered. They will often appear in Victorian-style garb, sometimes dancing, sometimes just waiting at tables, just chilling like they're at a party. One man has been seen a number of times sitting at a table near the window, proclaiming, quote, "I saw the most beautiful woman here last night and I'm waiting for her to return."
Oh.
So he's just like waiting there excited for the beautiful young lady he met the night before.
Kind of sad. Also, side note, you know how we talk about how people come back and they're always wearing like nice clothes or dresses and things, and a lot of people have commented, yeah, because people get buried in nice clothes.
Yeah.
I don't want to be buried, but my last moment needs to be in something that's not nice clothing. So if I do come back, you'll really know it's me. Something specific. I don't know.
Well, you can write that in your will.
I don't have a will. I don't even have a will to live.
When you
Just kidding. I like my life.
Okay, moving on. One waitress claimed to see what appeared to be a 19th century bride and groom in the reflection of a large mirror on the wall. She walked in and there's this big mirror, and she looked in the mirror, and behind her in the mirror was this bride and groom looking at each other like as if they were saying their vows.
Oh my God.
Right then, the groom turned and made eye contact with her, and then they both just faded away.
I don't like the eye contact. I
No,
really
me neither.
don't.
Me neither.
You were intruding on their time.
They were like, "Excuse me, we're getting married here."
I wish I could do that.
Just fade away.
Yes.
Me too. I often refer to that meme of the guy who just like holds up the piece and he just fades. You
I wish
know
we
what I'm
could
talking
edit.
about? I don't know how to do that. During Christmas time one year, the dining room was closed off to the public, and they had placed a large Christmas tree on one end of the room with presents and packages underneath. When an employee walked in the next morning, she noticed that the tree and all the packages had been moved. They were shifted over to another location, and there were chairs in a circle around as if someone was like getting ready for a celebration. Like they were all about to open their presents or something.
I don't like the chairs in a circle. That's
You
so
don't?
scary.
Okay, so I didn't think of it as scary. I thought of it as them coming together. They're like, "Oh, Christmas time, let's gather around the tree and open our presents."
Aww.
That's my first thought.
Okay, you always
You
think
made it
the
more
light
like
things. It's a ritual.
sacrifice.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Okay, well, if you put it that way, that is pretty sweet.
Let's keep it happy.
Okay.
The final spirit I wanted to tell you about is our favorite. Trust me, it's your favorite too.
Oh, okay.
Morris the ghost cat.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. Morris, an adorable orange tabby cat, was known as the hotel general manager for 21 long years. He would traipse around the hotel looking after the staff and guests and was beloved by all. In fact, when he passed away, dozens of people attended the funeral that they held on the grounds. He's buried outside he has a tombstone or like a little plaque outside, and he's got a plaque inside with his photo with like a remembrance poem for him.
I'm gonna cry.
I think it's in the lobby or somewhere nearby.
That is so sweet. That is how all business pets should be handled. At my old job, before I got there, they had a fish, and they had a burial for it because one of my coworkers was very,
Yes.
a lover of the animals. The second one that we had, we just showed up to work on Monday and there was a different fish, and we were like, "Hey, what happened?" He's like, "Had to flush him."
That's so sad.
I was genuinely like upset.
Shocked?
Yeah, we all just like worked silently for a few hours, just like, how dare you, typing away. No
Well,
respect for the fish.
That's not how Morris was. Morris was well respected
Thank
and well
God.
loved.
As he should be.
Though the grounds have two new cats named Jasper and Casper, Morris is
Aw.
still seen and heard lurking about, still checking in on the goings-on. People have felt the sensation of a cat brushing up against their legs or jumping onto their laps when no other cat is around at the time, and many have heard his meows all through the hotel when Casper and Jasper are nowhere to be seen. So Morris is still there,
Oh,
somewhere, all the time.
that is so cute. And Casper and Jasper,
I know.
love.
So if you go online, you'll find so many stories of people's encounters here. Like people will write them in and send them in to the hotel staff.
Mhm.
So I have compiled a few for us today. So these are a couple stories told by some of the tour guides,
Mhm.
these first few. Guests who revisited our hotel recently and retook the ghost tour took delight in recounting a story that had happened to them at the Crescent Hotel some 10 years earlier. They said that they had arrived around 2 o'clock one spring afternoon for an early check-in. They got their one key to the room 221 and proceeded to take the elevator to the second floor. When the elevator door opened, standing there, seemingly waiting for them, was a man in an all-black Victorian-style outfit. The man asked if he could show the couple to their room. Thinking he was a hotel employee, they told the man they were in room 221 and handed him their key. Upon arriving at room 221, the helpful man unlocked the door, pushed it open. He remained just outside the doorway, smiling and tilting his head side to side repeatedly. The guest quietly turned to her husband and suggested that perhaps the man wanted a tip. In the nanosecond it took the husband to turn to hand the man a tip, the man had disappeared, nowhere to be seen down the long hallway. Puzzled, but not concerned, the couple relaxed in their room until they left for their scheduled evening ghost tour. Following the tour, they returned to their room only to discover that their key would not unlock their door. They went down to the front desk, where the clerk apologized that by mistake, he had given them the key to room 321 at check-in. The couple explained that the key had worked for the employee who let them into their room, describing the helpful man in his attire. The front desk clerk informed them that they had no employees who fit that description, and no employees wear that kind of attire. The couple never saw that helpful man again.
That is insane. But also, whenever you were like, oh, maybe he's expecting a tip. So in like 100 years, are they going to have like an iPad flip ghost be like,
Oh no!
I'm going to ask you a question?
Oh no! I hate that. I
We
hate
don't
that so
have to
much.
talk about that. But how do you
Wild.
explain that?
They got into their room.
They
Their things
gave
are
him
in
the
their
key.
room. Yeah.
Those stories just, I can't.
Wrap your brain.
I really can't.
Last week, I met a couple that was staying here at the Crescent on the first floor near the governor's suite. They said the first night of their multi-night stay, nothing happened, explaining that they had heard that you need to be in the hotel at least a couple of nights before anything strange occurs. They said on their second night, when they were going to bed, they folded the blanket and comforter back onto the foot of the bed and just slept with only the sheet covering them. The husband awoke in the middle of the night sweating, turned on the bedside lamp, and woke up his wife in dismay. The blanket and comforter were not only pulled up over them, but someone or something had tightly tucked them in. He said that happened 3 times that same night. Whoever or whatever was in the room, he said one of them tucked in tightly. After that, during the rest of their stay, they would discover upon awakening or returning to their room that things had been moved around the room from where they were before going to sleep or departing from the room. They said the items were moved, just small insignificant things, but enough to let them know someone or something was or had been there. They concluded by stating that they really enjoyed their stay and that they would indeed be returning to the Crescent.
Okay.
Like maybe that one's Theodora. Like maybe she's there, gotta tuck you in for a nice, I like you, so I want you to be comfortable, you know?
No, 2 things. 1, being tucked in, that's terrifying. But 2, the comforters at hotels. You will not catch me using that.
No.
I bring my own blanket and my own pillowcase.
I hate those videos of people using like black lights and stuff. I saw one woman, she was like a newscaster or something, and she went to a hotel and wrote in an invisible ink or of some kind on the comforter and came back the next day requesting that same room, and it was still there. She like messed up the sheets and the bedding and stuff, so it looked like it had
someone
been
had used it.
Yeah, she messed it all up and like balled it up, and they just put it back on.
That is so gross. So that's one thing.
That's not every hotel.
No,
that's not every like housekeeper or anything.
No. But it is like a common thing that a lot of people don't use the top comforter thing.
Yeah.
I don't. I slide it all the way to the end and then I cover up with my blanket.
I mostly just use the sheet.
Yeah, but I don't even use that as long as I have my blanket.
My fiance and I were there for the weekend and actually stayed in room 419. We had no experiences in the room. However, on the 9:30 p.m. ghost tour, it was a different story. We were on the tour and had just made it down to the second floor and were walking up to Michael's room as the tour guide had just started telling his story. I was one of the last to meet the party, so I leaned up against the wall close to the door, and as soon as I leaned my shoulder into the wall, I heard Mike said out loud. It was said one time and in a male voice. I asked my fiance if she had heard anything or said anything as she was close to me. She had neither heard nor said anything. No one else in the group knew who I was or my name, so they would have no reason to call out to me. His name was Mike.
Oh my gosh.
I got goosebumps and started sweating and just felt weird right after it happened. We were talking about it coming home and the same feeling hit all over again. Thank you for the great visit, Mike A. So Michael said like, hey, fellow Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
My last experience was in the morgue at the very end of the tour when the ghost tour guide was trying to contact a young man. I stood at the very edge of the freezer and my friend stood right next to me with her back to an empty hall that we all had just come through. While the guide was trying to communicate, my friend whispered to me asking if I had heard that. I turned to her and let her know that I only heard a child say something that I couldn't make out. I then turned back around to listen to the guide. Only a few moments had passed when my friend asked me again if I could hear that. I asked her what she had heard, and she had stated she was hearing breathing in her right ear between us. I bent a little and tried to listen, but heard nothing, so I shook my head and turned back around. She then told me to hold my breath so she could listen, and I did so for about 20 seconds. After a few more moments passed, she told me again, "You don't hear that?" This time, the look on her face was of horror, and her eyes were teary. I then shook my head, turned back to listen to the guide. Suddenly, it felt as if someone took both their hands and slowly expanded their fingertips widely on the back of my head. I turned around, but nothing was there. Plus, my head was against the freezer, so no one could have done that.
No. Oh.
The breathing, then the touching.
The sensation of feeling like not only a touch, but them expanding their...
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Which already is like a feeling that gives you chills.
Yes.
You know? Both hands. Just hate that.
A lot.
My first encounter with a ghost occurred in orientation, sitting in the middle of my mom and my girlfriend. I distinctly remember 2 quick tugging pulls on my earlobe to the effect that I asked my mom on the side if she tugged my ear. She said no. It was apparent she was listening to the guide. I turned to my girlfriend on the other side and asked her if she reached around to pull my ear as a joke. She said, "Why would I do that?" I was so perplexed that I turned to the lady behind me and asked her if she had pulled my ear. She answered that she was not in the habit of pulling strangers' ears. I was not yet sure what happened. It was only later when the guide mentioned a little girl who poked people that I made the connection to something truly strange. For the next few weeks, as I stayed at my mom's back in Utah, I would often hear a little girl happily calling Daddy. My feeling is if she was happy I'd come back. It was a strange period of time after that. I would awake at night and hear a little girl's voice calling out to me. I've had supernatural encounters in the past. This one is just the most vivid.
I'm sorry. She thought it was her dad?
And she followed him. Or a piece of her followed him.
That's kind of really sad, but kind of like, oh, I don't know.
What if he was like her dad in a past life or something, you know?
It was really him.
Like she recognized his spirit.
His soul, yeah. Aw.
That's kind of cute.
Makes me kind of sad.
A little bit. Anything with kids makes me a little sad though. I took my mother, sister, and niece for 2-night stay in June of 2003. We had all day pampering in the New Moon Spa. My sister was being tormented by some ghost or something that was scaring the life out of her. She would not finish her hydrotherapy bath because of the eerie feeling she was getting in the dark, candlelit room. We all went to the dining room to eat breakfast, and as we were leaving, the latch on the floor that was holding the door open came up, and the door slammed hard right in her face. She shared a room with my cousin and woke up having the most horrible nightmares. Then she said someone got into bed with her. She thought it was my niece and then soon realized it wasn't. She ran over to my niece's bed and crawled into bed with her. Then I was out walking around the grounds just at sunrise taking pictures. I was down at the bottom of the castle on the road right in front of the entrance to the Catholic Church. I was taking some great pictures and took one of the back of the castle there. When I got my film developed, there was a flash of light in the 3rd floor suite window, the room right across the hall from where my mother and I were staying.
Whoa. What did the sister do?
I don't know, but whatever it was did not enjoy her presence.
Dark-spirited? They're like, you all can stay. You gotta go.
Yeah. I hate that so much. That made me uncomfortable. My husband and I always stay in your hotel. We once stayed in room 223. That night, we became fascinated with a loud banging noise coming from what we now know to be the annex. We ignored it for a little while and then decided it was time to investigate. We opened our door and walked out into the hallway. We turned the corner and looked down the other side of the hall and realized that the noise was coming from a spooky, dark entrance. As we walked down the couple of steps into the annex, the banging got louder. We paused for a moment, and I remember whispering to Scott, my husband, who or what would be making all of that noise at this hour in the dark. We walked further down the hall. It was difficult to see, so we kind of felt our way around. All we could feel were doors with padlocks on them. Then the banging stopped, and we heard footsteps stomping towards us. We ran as fast as we could back up the hall. I was literally screaming my head off because the stomping was right behind me. We ran into our room and quickly shut the door. One year we stayed in the governor's suite, which, as you know, has 2 rooms, a parlor, and a little hallway entrance. Our friends slept in the blue room and we chose the pink room. We awoke to our door opening and closing. Thinking that our friends were just trying to pull a stunt, we quickly got out of bed, tiptoed over to the other door that leads into the parlor so that we could catch them in the entrance messing with our other door. We jumped into the entrance and yelled, "Got ya!" We instantly turned pale and looked at each other as our door continued to slowly open all by itself. We grabbed our video camera to film and it stopped. We thought, great, no one is going to believe us. But when we turned the video camera on and filmed the entrance, we got excited again. The lights in the entrance were flickering and fluttering. You could not see it with your own eyes. You could only see the lights flutter through the camera lens, almost as if it were electrical impulses.
These people are brave.
Yeah, they keep coming back.
No, not just to keep coming back. Why would you investigate something so hard?
Well, if you're into it, you're like, let's go check it out. The fact that she was screaming down the hall because the stomping was right behind her, like it was so real.
Props to them, but wow. I would never investigate.
Yeah, me either. I think if I heard the banging, I'd be like, oh, wow.
Wow, scary.
Pillow over my head.
Yeah.
My husband, our 2 sons, myself, and my mom and dad, 2 sisters, and 2 nieces stayed at your hotel on June 20th. My sister, her 2 daughters, and my other sister stayed in room 205. They had taken the lampshade off the lamp so they could see better while they were eating and set it on top of the TV. About 10 minutes later, they came running out of the room telling us that the shade had jumped up and spun around, then fell on the floor. So it was like, whew, off the TV. Then that night, they said that the phone started ringing about every 30 minutes and nobody was on the line when they answered. My husband, our 2 boys, and I stayed in room 210. Our toilet would not stop running, so my husband took the back of the toilet off and saw that the chain was unattached. He put the chain back on and the toilet was fine for about an hour. Then it started running again. He took the back off again to find that the chain was off again. So this time, he twisted the end so that it wouldn't slip off anymore. We then went to bed, and the next morning when we woke up, the toilet was running. He looked in the back of the toilet to find that the chain had been twisted back the other way and it was off. We decided that we'd just leave it alone since someone wanted the chain off so badly.
Why?
I don't know.
What a strange thing to like manipulate after death.
Like, I need this to be this way.
I need this toilet to run.
My mom and dad stayed in room 209. Everyone except for my mom and dad went down to walk in the garden. They stayed in their room. When we got outside, we looked up at my mom and dad's window and saw them looking down at us, so we started waving at them. We then walked all around the hotel, which was beautiful. We all then went back up to my mom and dad's room to tell them good night and to ask them if they saw us waving. They told us they were never looking out the window, and we thought they were just trying to play a prank on us until we looked at their window and saw that it was way too tall for them to have been looking out. They saw them. So much so that everyone was like,
oh, hey,
Mom
Grandma.
and Dad. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's a crazy
I don't
one.
like that it looked like them. I hope it didn't
Well,
really
I mean,
look
it was
like
so
them.
far away that they probably just like, oh, there's two people standing in the window. That must be Grandma and Grandpa.
That's way too much.
The front desk suggested I write to you about our experiences at the hotel on the night of June 6th and June 8th. Friend and I were staying in room 203. During the night, my friend reported that something shook her bed. I was sleeping across the room in another bed and didn't experience the bed shaking, but woke up screaming. I couldn't identify what happened, but knew that I had been startled. We both went back to sleep, but in the morning remarked to one another that we had heard a glass clinking and then being set down hard on the dresser. We looked at the top of the dresser and noticed that the cork was out of the wine bottle. Then, on the 8th, we both remembered the next morning that we had smelled flowers as we were falling asleep.
The ghost was just enjoying their time.
No,
I don't have a problem with that.
Drinking their wine, shaking their
Partying,
beds.
flowers. Yeah, sure. Cool. That's fine. I'm fine with that one.
Startling them awake to screaming.
I've never woken up screaming.
Like the shot out and scream.
I did, however, I'll expose myself. The other day, I was taking a nap on the couch. I might have told you this. I was taking a nap on the couch, and in my dream, I think I was eating chips. I woke up like, and I licked my fingers, and I was like,
oh yeah, you have told me this. That's gross.
what am I doing? Isn't that disgusting?
Yes.
Yeah, I woke up fully confused, but fully put both my fingers in my mouth. I said, I was not eating chips.
There's no chip
I
there.
was just asleep. But I've
Strange.
never woken up screaming.
Hello, my name is Matt, and my wife Melinda and I stayed at the Crescent Hotel this weekend, 62610. The hotel is very beautiful and well maintained. The staff could not have been more friendly and helpful, and the breakfast we received on Sunday morning was exquisite. We also took the ghost tour, and Glenn was an excellent guide. The fun that we had was disturbed about 1 a.m. on Sunday when I heard the sound of shuffling feet in our room. I sat up in bed, and to my horror, I saw an old man who also seemed to be balding with a black suit coat and white shirt standing at the foot of our bed. I could only see the man from the waist up. There was nothing below his waist. I shook my wife awake, and the ghost disappeared. I asked my wife to lay facing me since I was scared to death, lol. After about half an hour, I started to feel something pulling my toes on my right foot, something poking my head and my right side. This went on for about an hour. After I thought I had enough for the night, I heard a voice whisper the name Darcy in my ear twice. After I heard the name, I woke my wife up and said, we need to leave this room for a while, and we left. We went downstairs to inform the staff as to what happened, and they didn't seem the least bit surprised, but it said they had never heard of any activity in room 309. I'm glad we stayed at the hotel this weekend and would love to stay again as soon as I build up the courage.
No.
Some man's like, hey, is this Darcy? Darcy, is this you?
It's
like poking, prodding.
It's really interesting that the wife wasn't experiencing it. It was just bothering the guy.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's just messing with him.
Maybe so, yeah. Me and my boyfriend stayed there and had an experience. It was a work trip and we'd worked all day. We'd had several stops on the way to repair computers, and the last one was in Eureka Springs. After all that, when we got there, we were knackered. So we decided we were going to take an hour-long nap when we get to the room. We get to the room, and on the left, just inside the door, is a smallish table about hip height. My boyfriend is diabetic, and he has to keep his meds cool, so we had a small, hard plastic cooler with us. I sat that on the table when we got there, and we went to sleep. About 40 minutes into the nap, we were both awakened by a god-awful noise. We jumped up and found that the cooler wasn't on the table any longer. It was on the floor, but not anywhere near the table. It was across from the table against the opposite wall. Therefore, it didn't fall. It was thrown.
No.
There was a small scrape on the wall where it had hit. Scared the crap out of us. Luckily, his meds were fine. I know I had the cooler in the middle of the table. It had his meds in it, and without those, he's a goner. So I'm always careful with it. Later, we did the ghost tour, got a nice caricature of the two of us eating in the restaurant, and reported the incident during the ghost tour.
I'm glad they added the part about the medicine being fine, because that was my first question.
Like, oh no, is he gonna die?
No, I was just like, what happened to his meds? And she's like, luckily, they were fine.
Yeah, it was
So
fine.
that answers all my questions.
It was thrown so hard off the table that it scraped the wall when it hit, though.
I was about to say, what does this ghost have against medication?
A lot.
A lot, knowing the history. This was a journey.
It was. It was.
I've never heard of this, but I am very interested.
Thank you so much to everyone who commented this.
Yeah.
Because I got the first comment and I was like, I'll put it on the list, the long list. And then I got another and another and another, and then a couple DMs and a couple comments on Instagram. And I was like, okay, I'll put it. And I moved it up to now, and glad I did.
I am too. I really liked this one, and I just added to the list of places we want to go, I guess.
Even with the really sad history.
It was horrible, but we went on a journey this episode. I started off really angry and really sad. Then we got the cat, and then we just,
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Flowed.
Yeah. I like this one.
Well, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and like it for us. Share this video if you feel compelled to do so, and subscribe if you want to hear more. We've got another listener stories episode coming later this week.
I'm having a lot of fun.
Me too.
I'm tired, but I'm having fun.
If you're on podcast, leave us a 5-star review, please. And if you'd like to, you can follow us on TikTok or on Instagram at Ghosteas Pod.
Our Instagram's been popping lately. We've been getting a lot of messages and story tags.
Yeah, I love it when y'all tag us in videos and stuff. That's like my favorite
Me too.
thing.
I hate to admit.
Except she gets scared. She like screens all of them and then will show them to me. So she's always scared.
Yeah.
It brings me joy to know that she's getting scared by y'all too.
And a lot of the times it's ones that I've seen because like that shows up on my algorithm too. But I'll forget what the like little thumbnail looks like. So I'll click on it and I'm like, ah! And I'm re-traumatized. Or people tag us in the same one. And
yeah.
it's like,
over and over again.
no. But I'm having fun.
Good. If you have a story of your own that you'd like to see on an upcoming Listener Stories episode, which, by the way, it's a backlog. Like, we're still working through October right now, like early October.
Yeah.
So we'll get to it. I promise. It'll come.
Yeah.
But we're working.
If you sent your story, just please be patient because there's a lot. There's really are a lot more than we ever would have expected.
Yes.
So we're slowly getting through it.
But if you have a story of your own, you can send it to us at ghostiespod@gmail.com. The best way to send us a story is email. Sometimes the DMs will just get lost. Other than that, we'll see you later this week.
Goodbye.